horizon line from where we're standing right now. Doesn't it look like it's a sharp line?
Yeah.
That you can't paint it that way. What you have to do is try to stare at the fence and see the horizon line with your peripheral vision, and that's how we need to paint it. So whenever you think of a horizon line there, try to make it softer, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about.
So did you start, rather than sort of washing the canvas in orange, you're going to start with the white canvas?
Just with the white canvas today, yeah, because otherwise the orange will tend to make everything darker, and you'll spend the rest of your day just trying to get it as light as you want it. So it's something that you should try anyway. What do you think the center of interest is in this painting?
White.
Yeah, so you don't really want to put that smack dab in the middle. So we said it's orange and blue, so I'm going to start with my ultramarine blue, a little alizarin crimson, the tiniest amount of lemon yellow. And then I'm looking here. So this really feels good. You know, I've had a few seconds to think about it, and so it feels good, and it's fairly simple too. So just, I mean, the way that these rocks are placed from this point of view too is really attractive. So I'm just going to put that in like that. I'm not worrying about it too much. I just want to make sure it's all going to fit. And then I can go in and get my sky. Now, when you look at the sky, especially on a sunny day, where it gets closer to the earth, it gets warmer because the earth is reflecting its way back onto the sky. And then as it goes up into the sky, it gets darker and cooler also because we're looking into space. So you want to think like that. So when it's the opposite of blue is orange. So I'm going to take a little bit of white and just add a little of my cad red medium and my cad yellow deep to this, which already looks too dark, but I can't tell.
What was the color, Diane? I'm sorry.
It's my warm orange. So cad red medium and cad yellow deep. So I'm adding some white to it. Now this guy here is tiny, so don't make him too big. You can see by me making it too big and wide, how easy it is for me to just go in there and fix it with the right color in there. So I'm going to just throw this in here.
So that's the sky.
This is the sky. You'll see it in a second.
And what color do you have there?
My warm orange, because it's an orange and blue harmony. And as the sky gets closer to the earth, it's getting more warm because of the light is shining back onto the sky.
So warm orange and
White.
She said
Okay,
cad
so now
yellow
I'm going
deep
to go
and red.
into the sky. When it comes to the
Cad
sky,
yellow deep and cad
I
red
like to
mixed.
use my cerulean blue right out of the jar. Around here anyway, but now when I'm looking at it, doesn't it look like the sky has a little more pink in it when I jiggle it back and forth?
Can she say that? Because that's a yellow and
So
red.
by starting, because cerulean blue is such a weak color, I like to start with it full boot here, because it's easy for me to go in, and I should have a hat on, by the way, because I can put it on.
You're using the cerulean for the close-up sky, right? Is that why you're going with the
Well,
cerulean?
the sky is basically, it's cool and it's warm, okay? And it's where the light source is, so you're going to have a lot of warmth in it. So it makes sense to start with the cerulean blue. Cobalt blue is in between ultramarine blue and cerulean blue, so that works a lot of times too, but it's a real weak color, so, and it's expensive. So I like to start with my cerulean blue and just put it in. Now you see as I'm putting a little white in there, how it feels good, and watch what happens when I add a little alizarin crimson. This is where, when we paint outside, you have a variety of both cool and warm sometimes in some places. So you really have to be staring at the sand when you're looking at the sky. And again, my goal is to build the painting in the first half hour, especially outside, because the sun is moving so quickly. So usually when I was a student, what I would concentrate on is spending the first hour filling my canvas in. Then I would spend the next 2 hours with the light, however the light ended up being, and then the last hour I would spend just kind of using my taste and trying to finish it. So watch what happens as I get this closer into the sky here. You see that warmth, what that warmth is doing there? So if I stood back and look, it's very close. Now, generally when we paint out sky, your light outside, the light source is in the sky. So your sky should be the lightest plane. Your second lightest plane should be the sand here. So if you're going to fit some of the sand in here, this has to be a little bit darker than the sky because that's where the light source is. So when I squint really hard, especially where it comes close there, I'm going to add a little bit of cerulean blue to that because I feel like I've got a little tiny bit of green going in there.
So is that the orange?
It's still the orange from the sky, and I'm adding a little cerulean blue in there. Again, I'm not concerned at this point whether it's perfect. Now look at those people walking on the beach. Always keep your eyes open for those things that are happening out there. Okay, so now I still have this light on my brush, so I can go in here, and if I see some clouds that I like, if I paint a little bit thicker, it's going to go right over that. And then I could just keep adding a little white to this and maybe lighten a few areas in here that I might have found that I didn't like. I have it on my brush, why not? So then the last thing that I'm going to put in is the water now, because we're getting a little bit darker here. Because this is so high key, I'm starting it this way. So I'm going to start with my ultramarine blue. And I tested it and it was way too dark. Now I'm putting it back up there. I'm going to put a little cerulean blue in there too. So I'm using a little of both because it's kind of in the middle ground there. But this has to be darker than the sky. And that feels pretty good there too. So as the water goes back into the distance, I'm going to use more ultramarine blue. And as it comes closer to me, I'm going to use more cerulean blue. And things get lighter and cooler as they go into the distance. The problem with painting in this part of the country is that the light is so bright and the air is so crisp, not like Santa Barbara where you have a lot of fog or whatever, that you have to edit, okay? You can't paint like you see it in a photograph because it won't look right, so you have to edit. And that means when we have things that are in the distance, see how I'm just, that softness there is pushing it back. And that's in reality when we're staring at
I know, it totally is.
that lighthouse. And this is what I mean, simple is always best. Just keep it simple. Sometimes we want to paint so much that we're not doing ourselves any favors. But you really have to do your trial and errors for getting outside to really figure out what works and what doesn't when you are painting outside here. So here I am. And you can see I didn't tone my background, so the color's going down pretty pure. Yeah.
Dianne, were the rocks the alizarin and the ultramarine?
It's my cool orange and
The
blue.
rocks were? Okay.
So alizarin crimson and lemon yellow with ultramarine blue. It's as simple as that. Okay, so now I've got my whole canvas filled in. Everything's fairly accurate, and now I really want to start standing back in the distance and really comparing. What I want to do is kind of bring my eye down so the horizon is equal to what I'm painting on here. So my eye and the horizon, so all I have to do is jiggle my eyes back and forth to really see what my mistakes are. And the farther away that I am, the better off I'm going to be. So I just want to keep bringing my eyes down. Now when I do this, I see that the worst thing in my painting is those rocks. So I'm going to go with my warm orange and my warm blue because the rocks are hit by the sun. So I'm going to try blending it where I see it getting a little bit lighter up in here. And that feels a little bit too dark, but again, I'd rather start a little bit too dark and work into my lights. That'll help me to get more variety in my color. Yeah. And this painting is fairly simple, so we should be able to do a fairly good job on it. It's the same way looking over there too. Now, when you have a lot of space that is, you know, just a big amount of space, that's where you can start playing with your color. So you keep the value the same. So I can break up my three colors of blue and orange in there and play with my the thickness or thinness of my paint.
Oh, good catch.
The thickness or thinness of my paint, or the way that I put the paint down. So now I just want to add a little bit more warmth to this. See, and just by just touching it where I see where I'm squinting, there's really not a heck of a lot left that I have to do to this painting. It'll just be going back and forth, standing back, and adding a little bit more dark here, a little bit more light there, a little thickness here, a little thickness there. And right now my adjustments are going to be small. So those rocks that are closer to me, I'm going to use more of my cool orange. And the rocks that are farther away, I'm going to use more of my blue. So that'll give you the illusion that these are sitting in front of these here. So these you want to be redder. And you can even see what's happening there. The other one's a little bit bluer. And the rest is just doing little details. Trying to paint what you see when you're squinting and not looking directly at what you're painting over here. This is where I'll stick my cutting very handy. Keep your hands still. See, there's really nothing to it. Now, what I really love about this painting right now is that glimmer of the light on those waves. So you might find one or two areas where you can really keep it nice and bright. And you might not even use any paint at all, leaving that white underneath there. And coming back with my cerulean blue and cad yellow deep and cad red medium and finding this area where it gets a little bit darker in there. And then you want some areas where you're going to have it blended, and some areas where you're not going to have it blended.
If you're quick, you can get the dogs on there.
Always be aware of that. Might be a bird flying by or a person
I know, isn't that
or
cute?
an animal. We always got to be looking out for those things because that's what makes the painting special. Again, when I'm squinting and say I'm looking at these rocks over here, I'm trying to see what this edge is doing here. I don't want it to be too sharp. I'd rather it be too soft than too hard. And then I can just simply come back again, back and forth. Of course, this is the light. It's being hit by the light, so I want to keep it on the warm side. And where there's a lot of blue in that water, I want to keep it on the red-orange side. Really nice, and really push that orange. And I can even paint nice and thick in there to give you the illusion of the waves too. And I'll just keep going back and forth until I like what I've done.
You used very few colors. Yeah.
It's blue and orange. Yeah. It's as simple as that. And this is a really simple scene, so it really doesn't need it. Now, if you want to sell the painting, put the damn dog in there.
Sailboat.
Again, and a sailboat.
Oh, look at it, he's laying down for you.
Oh, he's posing.
Oh
for
my
you.
God.
Oh, what a cutie.
So you always want to have
He's tired.
if you're waiting for the other dog.
Oh, he's
you
waiting.
always
He's gonna
want to
pounce
have
now.
the animals leading into
Yeah.
the
There you go.
Now,
Pound, get out.
Maybe the
Oh.
Here's a preference.
Now, these dogs are so far away that it's not worth putting them in there, so I really wouldn't. But it doesn't hurt
he's
to
back.
try it, and it doesn't take long. See, and if you don't like it, you just wash it away. Very simple. Now watch my sky. The sky's changing already, but I can just go in. It's the same colors, and play with maybe some of my strokes. So even though we're looking at these clouds, and you can see the edges on them. Clouds are soft. It's the softest thing in your painting.
So that's
you
still
really have to paint like you see when you're squinting. Otherwise, you're going to paint too much. You can see now, even blending this in a little bit more. So I'm safer doing my blue more intensely and then having it
Don't you just want to stop at this point?
neutralize. Well, that's experience too. I'm making it look easy because I know what I'm doing. I'm not testing colors. You guys have to figure all this out for yourself,
Yeah.
but to see it done first and to simplify it, I think it's going to make your job easier too. Now, what I would appreciate, if you really want to be a great painter, the thing is you have to do like 5 of these a day. It's not just one a day, because the first one you're just warming up, and the second one you're kind of like and you did a good job with that last week. He started over like 2 or 3 times, and finally when he stayed there, he got something. And did you like what you ended up with?
And I stayed till about 2:30.
Right, which was good because by the time you got started,
Yeah, it was.
you spent 3 hours on it, and then it was completely different.
Is it better to keep refining what you've done or just do a new one? Like, in other words, spend 5 hours trying to make it.
No, because the sun moves, so in 5 hours it's going to be completely different.
So just do a new one.
Yeah, and what I used to do when I was a student is I would come back 3 or 4 times to the same spot at the same time of day in the same conditions and work on it if I didn't have time to finish it. So, I never could paint this quickly. So I would go out, spend 3 or 4 sessions on every painting that I did when I first started.
Okay.
So you should go back to that house, you know, on a day that is similar to it and keep working on it. It's hard to finish something in 3 hours. I don't expect that of you. But another thing that you could do too is do 6x8s and spend an hour on them. And just do like multiple ones and see how you react. By the 5th one, you're going to end up with something that's pretty good because you're used to the scenery being outside. You're used to the sun moving and all that stuff too. So get started. This is really pretty. Like I said, I think the clouds are going to be coming in. So it's going to be about getting some kind of juice in the sky and making it interesting with your brush strokes.
Yeah.
Kind of bringing you in here. It's almost like this, you know, bringing you in and never letting you leave. So you might have some of these harder lines coming straight down over here to block the view as I move in, and then kind of having these other lines coming over here, bringing you back in. See, it's all these subliminal arrows that are keeping you in the painting, and everything ultimately pointing to my center of interest, which is the lighthouse. And if you're a person that goes to this beach a lot, you know exactly what those rocks look like, so you better paint them right too. All right, but it's not difficult. So get busy.
Come on.
Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay.